Hello. Okay, I think I've got it all set up here. So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm not going to wait for people to get on, and you guys can catch the replay if you miss a little bit of it. My name is Brandy Gilmartin, and I am co-owner and founder of Inner Space Des Moines. We are a mind-body energy center. It's kind of like a gym for your insides, taking care of all the different parts of your body. Erin invited me on here to talk today about mindfulness for children and parents. It's kind of an interesting time right now, and a lot of us are home with our kids more than we're used to. A lot of us are trying to adapt to new routines and just kind of navigate this uncharted territory. So I do have notes because I have a lot that I want to cover with you guys today, and I don't want to miss anything. And sometimes I just start talking off about something, so I want to make sure I hit all my bullet points. And anything specific that I talk about, if you want more information, just drop a question in the comments. At the end of this video, I'll go back through and kind of look at those questions. I will also be adding links to the comment section after I hop off of here with any tools that I have, activities, and all of that stuff. So if you ask a question, just know that I will go back at the end and I will get to you. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about when I was initially asked to do this, I was like, yes, I know all these great mindfulness tips for kids, and we can go over some activities, maybe some meditations. And then I kind of sat with it, and I've also been having my own experience this week of being home with my children. And I have started to realize, which I've known before, but I've had that realization really drop in this week, that my mindfulness practices and my self-regulation and all of that is the most important thing for my children to be successful during this time with their mindfulness. And really checking in with myself and what am I expecting of my children, and am I demonstrating that to them? So a lot of this today that I'll be going through with you guys is for parents and guardians and caretakers of children, less about tools for the kids and more about things for the parents that can be modeled to the children. And it's just this beautiful ripple effect that happens when we are taking care of ourselves, being more present and mindful. Our children pick up on that. Kids are innately in tune. They're naturally born sponges, right? We all know that from the ages of birth to 5 years old. We're very conscious of the fact that they're picking up everything around them. What they're seeing, what they're learning, all of that, what they're feeling. One aspect that often gets overlooked is that they also pick up everything energetically. They're little sponges of empaths. So a lot of times, because they don't know how to self-regulate, they also don't know if what they're feeling is theirs or somebody else's. So they have these really big feelings and these really over-the-top expressions of them, and they don't know what's going on. And so my number one thing for parents is to be mindful that sometimes what children are experiencing or carrying is not even their own stuff. They've picked it up from somebody else. And during this time of uncertainty in the climate of the world, it's important for us to kind of maintain a 0 point, getting back to center as much as we can, so our children aren't absorbing our fears, our anxieties, because even if we try to shelter them from what we're experiencing, they're still picking it up. That's why it's important for us to maintain mindfulness practices as well. One of the things that I like to do, and this is my tool number one for kids, and it's really great for adults, is we do shields up. It's just a saying that we say every morning or before we leave the house, to kind of put up a shield, like an energetic shield. And a lot of times with anything else, it's the intention that matters. So talking to them, we are going to do this shields up practice. It's just going to give you a little protective layer against anything that might not be yours out in the world. Or if we're not going out in the world like we are right now, anything that might not be yours in our house. If your child is old enough to communicate with, you can let them know that Sometimes we pick up other people's feelings, and they're not always our feelings, and that's okay, but there are things that we can do to kind of prevent that. So setting the intention, letting them know we're doing shields up, and it's just a simple, like through their body, I just go like this in front of my son, and I'm like, shields up, and he's old enough now to do it. Shields up for the day, just to kind of give you an energetic buffer from anything that might not be yours. If your children are young enough, this is not a tip for them, but it might be more for parents. We have this wonderful ability to check in and talk to ourselves and ask ourselves questions if we get still and have patience for an answer. And if you're feeling something going on, lots of us are feeling anxious, lots of us are feeling fear, and that is okay. You don't have to try to push it away, but you can also check in and say, is that mine? Is that coming from myself? Is it coming from an outside influence? Am I allowing myself to sit with something that's not even mine? Am I exerting energy on things and feelings that are coming from somewhere else? So a quick check-in with yourself on if it's yours. You'll get an answer right away. You'll be like, oh no, that's not mine. Okay, back to me, back to how I'm feeling. That doesn't mean you still might not have anxieties or fears, but it kind of removes the excess, right? Okay, so shields up is my first tip for kids and adults. Another thing is to remember that we are just giant children and our kids are mini adults, right? We're all the same. We just grow up in these bodies. We all have the same feelings. Children don't know how to self-regulate their emotions. So it's very important for us to acknowledge and understand that and have compassion for our children when they're having all of these big, big, big feelings. It's our responsibility to be their safe space for when they have those big feelings, and having the compassion to understand that they don't know what to do with all of those feelings. So a lot of what I'm going to be going through with you today will all help with self-regulation for your children. Another tip for kids, at the end of the day, and for yourself, or if you feel like you've read an article that just makes you feel yucky with some of the news that's going on, or an interaction that you had where somebody's just kind of throwing their stuff on you, you can wash yourself off. And it's very simple. You just place your hand on your body and you just kind of wipe yourself off. Like, nope, that's not mine. Just to kind of energetically remove all of the funk and gunk that gets left in your energy field by other people. It's really fun for kids to do. I tell my son it's like taking a shower. Just take a little energetic shower. Just wash yourself off. Because I can recognize when something isn't his. And he is 9, so he's now able to kind of verbalize and understand when things aren't his and when they are. And he just washes it off. Very simple things. It's not like you have to sit in meditation for 2 hours a day to be a mindful parent, or to get rid of the stuff that you don't want to carry around with you anymore. So shields up, really simple. If something gets through that shield, just wash it off. Okay. So I own Inner Space, so I'm often going actually into a place of business, and I do work from home also. So this new routine of being home all of the time with my child has really thrown me for a loop as far as this 24/7 parenting, working from home, how to navigate those waters. What I've noticed this week, and a lot of this is from my own experience, is the importance of routine. So I let ourselves have a couple days of just like floating around in nothingness, not trying to figure anything out, just surviving, basic survival skills of how are we going to live together during this time, 24 hours a day in close proximity. How am I going to get my business stuff done? It'll happen, just pushing those things away and really being focused on the now moment. Okay, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? And I did that for a couple days, and what I notice is that we thrive on routine. And it doesn't have to be the same thing every day. It doesn't have to be super structured, or super rigid, I should say, because I have this saying that structure doesn't always have to be rigid. But just like when we do well with getting up, taking a shower, doing our hair, putting regular clothes on, all of those things, our children find routine comfortable, and it keeps them consistent and understanding that things are still moving forward, things are still okay. You know, it just keeps them in this zone of normalcy during an uncertain time. So just remembering for yourself as parents, guardians, or caretakers to take shower, do your hair, brush your teeth, get out of your robe every once in a while, which I'm totally guilty of living in my robe. I actually had my robe on before this live, and I was like, I should just keep my robe on because that's what's really happening in my life right now. And then I remembered my own advice of how I perform better when I'm doing anything work related, when I'm not hanging out in my robe. When I curled my hair for the first time in a week, I put a little bit of mascara on. And that wasn't just because I was going to be on a live video. That's because I know that makes me feel better, and I can get into productivity and flow state a little bit easier when I'm feeling good. So remembering that for your children too. Yes, hanging out in pajamas all day is great, but we might have several weeks of this. And then at the end of this, whenever that might be, and you have to send them back to school or daycare or go back to a normal routine, whatever that might mean for you, it might be kind of difficult for them, especially because they don't know how to self-regulate, and they've been allowed such a long period of time of doing pajamas every day, all day. It might be a little bit more of a struggle in the end. So also being mindful of your daily routine, being mindful that kids thrive on that type of stuff, and that will set you up for a more productive day if you're trying to work from home with your kids too. Okay, so let's see here. Another thing, screen time. One thing I've noticed is if my child has screen time right away in the morning, which is very easy to do right now, it kind of sets the setting for not an awesome day. And then I reflected back on myself, like, how do I feel if I grab my phone right away in the morning and watch some news or get really involved in social media or check emails right away, but I'm just right in my phone. I haven't even taken a moment for myself or to interact with my family or the world my world at my home, my animals and all of that stuff. So looking at how I handle my mornings with screen time right away really helps me evaluate what my child needs for the day. So we don't do any screen time right away in the morning anymore, which is kind of different than our normal daily routine of going to school, because I used to let my son watch videos while he ate breakfast. Now we don't do that anymore. I've gotten him more involved in making breakfast. Sometimes he'll make his own breakfast because he's old enough. But for those of you with younger children, taking that time, it's really easy to be like, here's an iPad, I'm going to make your breakfast. Take this time to get them involved in what you're doing and all the meal times, making breakfast. How can they help you? They want to know how to be productive and help you through whatever's going on. We are also demonstrating coping mechanisms that will stay with them for the rest of their life. So in times of chaos, stress, anxiety, global pandemic, which I hope doesn't happen in their lifetime again, creating normalcy, creating routine, closeness, being present, and even the minor moments of making meals is huge. And removing that screen time right away in the morning sets their day up for success, just like if you look at your own day and realize, hey, I feel more successful or more productive when I don't reach for my phone right away. Okay. Another thing is if your child is too young or maybe too busy to help you out with breakfast and screen time is your saving grace, I recommend setting yourself up for success by planning some sort of activity. It doesn't have to be grand. I am not a artsy, creative parent by any means. I have a child that really thrives on his own independent creativity, which is messy and drives me crazy, but that's a different thing. Setting them up for, maybe you're making breakfast and you set them up at the table with a coloring book or some paint, if you can supervise in any way, or something where they can start working with their hands and working on their creativity like right away in the morning, so that they're not just zoned out on screen time. Because also, since we're home 24 hours a day pretty much, it's really easy for them to get loads and loads of screen time in without us even having an awareness of it. And it starts in the morning. So getting them on a start of, this is what we're doing, something creative, have them read a book, have them sit on the kitchen floor and play, get out some pans, they can fake cook, get them a pan and some water, really getting them involved in your morning routine. It's just more time spent with them, that they are feeling nurtured, that they're feeling like you're present with them, they're involved. A lot of that filters throughout the day where they're not feeling as needy. When our kids are frustrated, they have tantrums, little outbursts. My child is the king of outbursts of frustration. I know that he is frustrated because he's not feeling like I'm being present with him, or haven't spent enough time being present with him. But when we do those morning activities together, or when he gets involved in the kitchen or starts doing an activity that I have set up for him, he takes that as, my mom has been present with me. She's created this ritual for me to do, and it fills his cup up a little bit more, which leads us to have a little bit of a better day. So all of these things are like just little bits of a better day, of a smoother day, as we all navigate these times. Okay, let's see. Remembering to give yourself grace. So, and give your children grace. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, they're little energy vampires. They can suck it all in, and all the stuff that's not theirs. So when they're having those big emotions, and when you're having those big emotions, and when you're having those big emotions together, to take a moment to find compassion for where they're at, just like we would do with any other human being. Finding compassion for where they're at, and then giving them grace and giving yourself grace for how that situation played out, and that it's okay. When we have those big outbursts in my house, I guess they don't even have to be big, but there's a tool that I picked up a couple years ago that has been very helpful. Now, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that. This is just something that works for me. I ask if we can have a redo. I explained to my son, maybe I kind of lashed out a little bit more than I normally would, or handled a situation, and then I recognize, after the situation's over, I recognize, oh, I really could have done that in a different way, or I was in the moment and I didn't utilize this tool that I knew I had. I will walk up to my son and I will let him know that I I don't want to say wish, that I know that I could have handled that differently, and that I let my emotions get in the way, and that I know that there was a different way to do something. And so I say, can we have a redo? Can we start over? And it gives him permission. What I've noticed is it gives him permission to check in with himself and see how he reacted in that situation. And understanding that Mom has emotions too. Mom has big feelings too. Oh, sometimes Mom doesn't always do what Mom always does isn't how it needs to be done. And so we just take a couple minutes and talk to each other. We have really good dialogue about, because I want him to know that I'm human, and that we make mistakes, and that it's okay to make mistakes, and that it's okay if we have some feelings that take us over sometimes. And that, can I have a redo, really clears the air. He's not sitting in his room holding on to something, and I'm not sitting in the kitchen wishing I could have done that differently, or why did I react that way? And it gives me time to be present with him. And a lot of times in those conversations, it opens the floodgates for him to talk to me about anything. He'll start bringing up random things. Well, I was at school and I felt this way at recess, and I was just walking around the rest of recess wishing that I could have, handled that differently. And now he knows that he can go up and say, I shouldn't have done that way. Can we start over, or can we meet back in the middle and talk through this? I have a child who is very sensitive and very verbal about all of his emotions. And a lot of that is because I've always given him permission to discuss his emotions. I've always understood that he doesn't know how to self-regulate until a certain age. So having open dialogue about how you're feeling with your child, if it's age appropriate, is okay, and it is healthy, and it helps them understand that it's okay to talk about things. When they get older, they will talk to you about things more and more and more. I also have a 13-year-old stepdaughter, and I've been in her life since she was 6, and so we've been doing this with her, and we have a great open dialogue, great communication about all the things. We still have our hiccups, but I really feel that because we've created this environment where she understands that we're not perfect, that we also have anxiety and fear around things in our lives, it's created this wonderful place to discuss it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Erin, I just saw your comment. Great tips for adults. Yeah. And at the beginning of this, I talked about how children's mindfulness is kind of more for adults, because it takes us to be mindful for them to be. We can't just expect them to go meditate for 10 minutes on Insight Timer if we're not doing any mindfulness practices ourselves. We kind of have to implement this and set the standards for our children to be set up for success with anything about mindfulness. Okay, so another one of my notes is to remember to play. During this time, we're all trying to figure out how we're gonna work from home. I know I had to process a lot because I had to close down a physical location of a business, and how am I going to navigate these things online? I'm spending more time on my computer. I also have to parent at the same time. But taking time to play, and that's not just for the kids' benefit, it's for your benefit as well as an adult. So you can find things to do with your child, and they don't have to necessarily be things that they love. I invite you to try to remember what you loved to do as a child. Now, I'm a parent of a child who dominates play, and it's frustrating for me to play with him. But what I've realized is that when we find a common ground, or something that I used to like to do when I was a child, he's more engaged, and I can be naturally more present, and then he doesn't try to dominate. So if we would play Legos, he would try to tell me what to build and all of this stuff. So now I'm like, what did I used to do? I loved Light Bright, so I bought a Light Bright. I'm like, let's do Light Bright together. We spent like an hour doing Light Bright. It's just without any frustrations, because I was able to be present, because I also could give myself grace as I was learning how to play with my child. It didn't always come naturally for me. He was very independent from the go, but as he got older, I recognized that when he got out of the age of me having to guide him in the world, like I'd say around 5 completely, I recognized that I needed to learn how to play with him and take that dedicated time. And when you take that dedicated time, let's say it's 30 minutes a day of playing with your child, you're meeting a need inside of them, and you're less likely to have tantrums and outbursts because they're not feeling seen or heard by you. It's taking that intentional time. It's putting your phone away, closing your email. If you have to, put your phone on Do Not Disturb so that you're not even tempted to answer that text message while you're playing with your child. And play can be many things. It doesn't have to be like playing a game or playing Legos, or it can be creative play, dress up. You can dance. Dance is great. Just have a little dance party. We do that every day, dance party. It's like mandatory in our house. It also gets our bodies moving. We're feeling good. We're getting all of that energy and emotion that might be trapped inside of our bodies. It has a space to move and flow throughout. Music is really great. I got some of those finger symbols at the Learning Post. I also got a ocean wave drum. I have some other random things, and we just make some music and just spend some time together, 100% undivided, where I'm fully present. Even when I do that for 30 minutes a day, it is life-changing to how my child acts towards me for the rest of the day. He doesn't feel as needy, or I'm not feeling irritated when I'm trying to sit down and do my email. I met his needs, then he can do some independent play while I do my work. Okay. And don't forget to be patient with yourself at the beginning as you're learning. If this is something new for you, be patient with yourself. Go outside. That's huge. It helps with grounding and feeling rooted in the body. And it's just really good for every other part of your body. I also am not somebody that naturally gravitates to the outside, which I kind of have created a child that doesn't gravitate to the outside either. So it's setting time to go outside without my phone and doing more of that present play with my child outside. Or I don't even have to be interacting with him directly outside. Maybe he's playing and I'm sitting on the deck just observing, but I'm not on my screen. I'm taking time for myself to be present so that I can be a better parent throughout the day. I've actually learned a lot about myself and my child by going outside with him and just observing him play and how he interacts with things, because from there I can see where he has less frustrations while he's playing, and then I can kind of implement some of those things when I notice he's having I have a frustrated child. So everything I'm looking at is how can we ease that and make it a little bit smoother. So I might say like, oh, I noticed that you were doing this outside, and then how can we implement that when we're back inside or when he's having all the feelings come up? Okay. Having a dedicated place for your cell phone. So we have ours on the kitchen counter. So we used to do no technology Tuesdays when school was going on. No phones, no TV, no tablets, no computers, no all the technology. Until my children started being like, a stove is technology and all this stuff, but so no electronics. And then I realized that wasn't enough and it felt like restrictive. So implementing a space or a basket on your counter or your kitchen table to put your phones on. And if you hear an email go off that you absolutely must check, you can be more mindful about using it and go over and check it and put it back in the basket, or go over and look, okay, I don't need to get to that right now. I can get to it later. So I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they both have cell phones. And we have an app called Google Family Link where we can monitor their screen time, shut everything off if we want to, all of that. But still the act of like carrying it around with them or even having them feel like they need to know where it is all the time, that safe space on the counter, that's where it's at. If you need it, it's there. Also, if they are texting somebody, mostly the teenager, they're doing it right there. So we know that they're not hiding away in their bedrooms, just soaking up their screen. Being more mindful of their screen time helps them in so many ways, because then they're not just diving into this world of technology. They might get a little bit bored, and boredom is really good for kids. Some of the greatest things have come out of genius minds from when they were bored. So it's also giving them permission to be bored, to not have something planned all the time, because with all of these tablets and cell phones, or just the ability to hand them our cell phone, like, here you go, that's very mindless. And so the intention is how can I be more present with everything that they're doing, and how that ripples through into whatever you're working on at the time. Okay, let's see. All right, I have some tools for you, kind of bullet pointed, and some of these I'll drop below in the comments, and I have links for a couple of them. So one thing that's very helpful for my child both of them, is an Insight Timer. It's an app on a phone, and they listen to a meditation before bed. It just kind of helps like ease the anxiety, whether it's their own or picked up from somebody else. They do fall asleep, a bedtime meditation. We've also started with my son a morning meditation, because I noticed that he was kind of jumping into the day a little raw. He was, with the spring break and all this stuff going on, and all the news, and he hears us talk about it because that's how our life is, so we're not going to shield them from that. A morning meditation to just kind of feel more grounded. So we do a grounding meditation in the morning on Insight Timer. It's a really user-friendly app, and it's free. They have lots of them. They have bedtime stories. They have morning grounding. There are body scans on there. So a body scan is another great meditation to do, which I'll drop a link down here. Body scan is another great meditation to do if your kid is feeling anxious or just frustrated or overwhelmed at the moment. It's like a 3-minute meditation that just kind of brings them back down, having them understand how to, little bits of how to self-regulate. Sometimes they'll start to use these tools without even having the meditation on. Maybe they're recognizing that they are a little frustrated. They take a couple seconds and take some deep breaths and scan their body real quick. The grounding meditations in the mornings are really good, especially for the current climate, just to bring you back down into your body. And kids can really feel the difference. They don't always verbalize it, so it's important for us to let them know the intention of meditating, whether they do a timer or not, or Insight Timer or not. And then also what it's doing for them, just kind of giving them a little bit of dialogue. But they are sponges. They will get it. They will feel the difference almost instantly, because they don't have a filter of the world telling them that that's weird or wrong. And so it's an excellent age to start some sort of mindfulness or meditation. Tapping, emotional freedom technique. I've learned this from Denny Kelly. I taught it to my child. It has been revolutionary for feeling worked up or just that panicky feeling or anxiety. Awesome for parents too. So I'm just going to show you like a little set that I do. So you take your 2 fingers, and this is my left hand, and I will be tapping on my right hand, and you can tap right here. And you might say a positive affirmation. So you might say, I am well. I always start out with, my name is Brandy. I am well. And then I move on to the top of my head. Maybe it is safe for me to be in my body. And I tap right above my eyebrows, right underneath my eyes on my kind of cheekbone, ocular bone, right here, here. The next one is a really good one. This is called thymus thump. It's really good for strengthening the immune system. I do this for 5 minutes, just this tap for 5 minutes every morning. Really good for if you start to feel your heart rate increase. Maybe you're on the verge of feeling a little bit anxious and you kind of get that signal in your body. This is a great one to start doing. So where it is like, here's my collarbone. It's about 2.5 inches down. You don't have to be exact. The thymus gland is right behind the sternum. This one, when I do it, if I'm starting to feel anxious, or lately with everything going on, if I start to feel that creep up, I'll do this right away, and it's almost instant. Also with this as a parent, when I'm feeling more calm and collected, I can be more mindful with my children. And I will also do this and let them see it. Maybe I'm sitting on the couch and I'm tapping, and they see me putting this into practice. And demonstrating that to them normalizes it. Like, it's okay. So the next one after thymus thump is right here in the shoulders, like below your collarbone, about 2 inches. Right here. So I'm tapping here. You can still do affirmations. So I love myself. I am whole. Sometimes it's easier to cross your arms to do it. And then just kind of rub in circles. The next one might be kind of hard to see. It's like underneath the armpits on the side, on each side. So I cross my arms and I tap here. And I usually do about 3 rounds of this. And what I notice at the end is that I feel very, I call it centered. I feel like everything has kind of been brought back in. Take a deep breath, and I'm ready to go on to the next thing. So really quick, I'm just going to show you the spots again. The side of the hand, the top of the head, above the eyebrows, below the eyes, above the upper lip, underneath the lower lip, thymus thump, 2 inches below your collarbone, tap, sorry, and then you can swirl, and then on the sides. Okay, that's a really great technique to show your children too, especially thymus thump. It really helps in those moments where they can't calm down, or if you start to notice. So a lot of times I will see cues with my child when he's about to go there, and I just like, hey, remember you have this. We are here to remind them of the tools that they have, but we can't remind them if we're not doing them ourselves. So here's your reminder. A fun activity to implement mindfulness is to make affirmation cards, or maybe you have a deck of affirmation cards, but using them and initiating the use of them, not just handing your kid affirmation cards and saying, here you go, use them. Maybe sticking them in the bathroom mirror, somewhere that they're looking every day, if your child can read. So they'll just subconsciously just start looking at them, seeing positive things in their life. This isn't necessarily a time to just cover everything with positivity frosting. It's a time to allow yourself to feel, and it's a time to be okay with sitting with that. But surrounding yourself with positive affirmations is that little reminder to ourselves, I am whole, I am love. I see through my eyes with love. You know, there's various affirmation decks that you can get. Louise Hay, her decks are some of my favorites, or you can make your own. You can look up affirmations online, get out some construction paper, and make it a creative project with your child to do. Because then not only are they reading the affirmations, they're drawing them, they're really kind of immersing themselves into it, and they're participating. So they might be more likely to reach for them or have pride that they made them, or look at my affirmation cards. Our children are they will remember quickly the importance of these things. Basically, we just are living our lives. We've forgotten everything. We come back here, and it's just a remembering process. So affirmation cards are really great for that. The breath is really important. Coming back to your breath, reminding your children to go back to their breath, and having a tool for them is really helpful. So I have one for you. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. What it does is it switches your central nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. It is something that we are in 85% of the time, and we should actually only be in it about 15% of the time. Should only be there if we are in danger. But we live in a society where everything feels dangerous, or everything is scary, not necessarily to our minds, but our central nervous system starts to really let the rest of our body know that, I need to rest. So that's sympathetic. Parasympathetic is the rest and digest. That is the part of the central nervous system that we're in when we sleep. It's that healing part of our central nervous system. So basically, it's how can we stay in parasympathetic nervous system all day? How can our children stay in that all day? So it starts with us. And this 4-7-8 breath is for children and adults. My son does it. I do it twice a day. I do it in the mornings and then as I'm falling asleep for bed. So I will also put this in the notes. And it is, you take a deep breath in for 4 counts through your nose. You hold for 7. And then you exhale for 8 through pursed lips, almost like you have a straw. So remembering when you're taking those 4 breaths in to breathe into your belly, not up into your chest. So really getting a full deep belly breath in that 4 count. Holding for 7 and exhaling for 8 through pursed lips. Doing 3 rounds of that in the morning and 3 rounds of it as you're laying down for bed. I do it while I'm laying down, right before I drift off. Sometimes it helps me go to sleep faster because all of a sudden I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, last thing I knew I was doing 4, 7, 8 breath. When my child is having all the big feelings, I remind him, hey, 4, 7, 8 breath. He's done it enough now that he knows that it makes him feel better. Sitting down with your child and doing it, they can do it when they're really little. Maybe if you have a 3 or 4-year-old, the counting might not be completely perfect, but just letting them know, reminding them that when everything else feels crazy in the world, you always have your breath. And I think that's a very important tool to teach them from a very young age, because us as adults, we're just remembering that and understanding the benefits of that. And if somebody would have taught me that when I was 3 years old, to go back to my breath, that that would have been life-changing. So 4, 7, 8 breath. Another way to do intentional breathing is blowing bubbles for children and yourself. It's a fun time to play. So getting bubbles, they take a deep breath in and then they blow the bubbles out. It's just one little tool for smaller kids or older kids, because big kids like doing bubbles too. I'm a big kid now. I like doing bubbles. It's just really good to remind them of the importance of their breath. A gratitude practice. Many of us have heard of this and the importance of it. And we might be like, yeah, I know, but do our children know? And so just taking a few minutes, maybe when they wake up in the morning or when they go to bed, what are you grateful for? And it can be anything. No judgment on gratitude. They can be grateful for the amount of ketchup you put on their plate at dinner. They can be grateful for all the love in the world. I mean, it can be grand, or it can be they're grateful that you got Mickey Mouse Band-Aids. You don't have no judgment on what you're grateful for. You don't have to tell them what to be grateful for or that they should be grateful because they have food or any of that. Let them cultivate their own gratitude and nurture that and honor that. And so I invite you as parents, caretakers, and guardians to do the same thing. A couple minutes, maybe right before you do your 4, 7, 8 breath when you're laying down for bed. Just go through couple things that you're grateful for the day with non-judgment. Maybe you're grateful that you took a shower, or maybe you're grateful that you didn't run out of ice cream and you have some more for tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be something that Gandhi would have said. You can be grateful for anything. Just cultivating that attitude of gratitude. It will raise your frequency. It'll put you in a place of joy, all the good chemicals flowing through your body, nurturing that parasympathetic nervous system that we want to stay in. So gratitude practices. And if your partner, if you co-parent with a partner, giving them these tips too, so that everybody in the family is participating, will be very helpful. It'll just create a more mindful environment, and you'll have more mindful children because of it. Okay. Let's see, sleep. That is important for children and for you. And I know, and some of us have children that don't sleep or don't want to sleep or want to stay up late because they're turning 13 or they're 13 and they think that the older you get, the later you get to go to bed. Children between the ages of 3 and 12 need 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. That is the best way to set you up for a good day because they're in that parasympathetic nervous system longer, that rest and digest, that healing part of their body. So a couple things, initiating a little bit of an earlier bedtime. Even our 13-year-old goes to bed at 8:30. It's just, our 9-year-old and 13-year-old go to bed at the same time. It's important. We say your brain needs this, your body needs this. We talk to them about the whys, about why we're asking of them what we want them to do. If your child is having trouble sleeping, or they might be a little unfocused during the day, and you're just noticing maybe they look sleepy, I highly encourage you to get their breathing checked out. So lots of people, my nephew, I have lots of friends whose children might have had like behavioral issues or just looking exhausted, and it's just because they're not getting in that deep stage of sleep at night. And it doesn't mean that that's going to resolve itself on its own. So investigating tools that you can use to help them get better sleep, like visiting an ENT, making sure that they're getting enough oxygen at night so they're well rested and staying in that parasympathetic nervous system. Behavioral issues will dramatically change with children when they're sleeping better. That's not to say that there aren't other underlying issues that can be going on, but that would be my first step of making sure that they're getting enough sleep. That's going to set you up for a more mindful day. And same with yourself as parents. You don't have to stay up late. You don't have to, you can say, no, I'm going to do these emails in the morning. I'm guilty of that. I'll be working late. But also nurturing yourself and your own sleep and knowing how much you need to be successful for the next day. How much your body is craving. Removing screen time before bed for the kids 60 to 90 minutes beforehand. If you have to do some work, get some blue blockers. But being mindful of your ritual and routine when you're going to sleep is the same as in the morning when I talked about it earlier in this video. So I have to get 8 hours of sleep. So if I go to bed late, I'm just sleeping in late. That's what I have to do. And I don't always have the luxury of being able to sleep in late like I have been this week. But I know that I have to go to bed at 10 o'clock because I can't, if I have to wake up at 6, that's what time I have to go to bed. And so I hold myself to that. I am guilty of screen time longer before bed. I have a setting on my phone that turns my phone completely orange. I also have blue blockers. I am working on my own technology before bed, but I still have to, I'm still doing that, but I am mindful of it. Let's see here. Forgiveness practices. So parents, this is huge. Children, this is also huge, but mostly for parents, because a lot of times we go to bed with that parent guilt, and we could have done something this way, or we should have done something this way, or I feel really bad. Like this happened to me this week. My son broke his arm last weekend, and I heard him scream in the basement, and I froze, and I sent my husband down there because I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to see what just happened because of the scream. And then I laid in bed that night, and I was like, I am a terrible mother because I didn't go respond to my child right away because I was afraid. And then I came back to, I have this forgiveness practice that I can do. And it can be simple. You can just lay in bed and I forgive myself for this. I forgive myself. It's okay. I forgive myself, and kind of run through any scenario. Self-forgiveness is huge. You can try all you want to have somebody else forgive you to make you feel better, but it's not going to. So there are a couple self-forgiveness practices that's just saying like, I forgive myself, I forgive you, visualizing that scenario in your mind's eye and sending forgiveness that way, feeling it kind of wash all over your body is really good. There's also Ho'oponopono, which I will put in the comments. And that is an amazing forgiveness practice too, where you can just visualize the scenario in your mind's eye and you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, oh, thank you, I love you. And we actually have that hung up in our house so that anytime our kids can see that, just these kind of reminders, just like affirmation cards, like, oh yeah, I remember, I can forgive myself. I can forgive myself in that situation. I can forgive somebody else in that situation. The point of that is also just kind of scrubbing away a little bit of the gunk that might be clogging up your energetic filter in your body, of letting all of that goodness, awesomeness in. So I'll post Ho'oponopono in there. Snuggling, cuddling, if your child likes to snuggle or cuddle. Touch is very important, consensual touch. Also teaching our kids about consensual touch. But I noticed this especially when my son would come home from school and he would have those major meltdowns, and they kind of started in like first grade. You know, that 15 minutes they get home and they're just like letting out the day. And I used to be like, I don't know what's going on with you. Go do your thing. Until I recognized that he just needed something. And so in those moments where they're having really big feelings, say, would you like a hug? Would you like to sit with me on the couch? And just embracing them for exactly where they're at. And it's just really good for all the yummy chemicals that will float through their brain when they're receiving touch and snuggling and love. It's also really good for you as parents. If you are in a household where you are co-parenting or you have a partner, don't forget about that for yourself. Touch is very important. There are actually even people who do professional cuddling because we are such a under-touched society. So just nurturing at that time with your child. And like I said, if you are with a live-in partner, cuddling, snuggling, touch will be really good for your central nervous system. And it just fills your tank, fills their tank. All those tanks are being felt, seen, and heard, and staying in parasympathetic nervous system. That's kind of the goal of all the mindfulness. Another tip that I like is when my child's trying to get my attention. If I'm working, especially if I'm checking emails, if I'm kind of in a flow state where I need to be completely present on my computer, if he needs something. So I taught him this when he was, I think, 4 or 5, but maybe my hand is laying on the table and he needs something from me and it's kind of immediate. He'll put his hand on top of mine, and then when I feel that, I'll put my hand on top of his to know that I hear him and I will be right with him. So it's just kind of this unspoken, so he doesn't have to be like, Mom, I need you, or get my attention in a really loud way, or start jumping off the couch, because those little things that they're doing that might be frustrating to you, they're trying to get your attention. So this is just a simple tool that takes some time to kind of cultivate. But one day I just sat down and I let him know, hey, I have this new tip for when you need me right away. He's always been very verbal, so I could talk to him this way. When you need me right away, just come over. If I'm standing up, put your hand on mine. And it's when you feel my hand on yours, that means that I know that you need me, and I'll be right with you. Even though he's right next to me, but I will be able to be present with you. Because if you try to get at me right now when I'm answering this email that I'm in this flow of, I will get frustrated for getting interrupted, and you'll get frustrated for how I react, and then it just kind of spirals out from there. So having those little tools. Okay, I'm gonna go through and look at any questions that you guys might have. And I just kind of ran through it all quick. I wanted to try to keep this at an hour, so I think we're doing good on time. I don't see any questions. That's good. I will drop, after I get off of here, like I said, I will drop some comments in the section, or some links in the comment section. I have a whole bunch of links. I have links for activities that you can do with kids for mindfulness. But like I said at the beginning of the video, we can try all of these tools with our children and try to get them to do all of this, but if we're not doing it ourselves, it's not going to stick. It's important for us to cultivate these practices within ourselves, within the relationships that we have with other people, and model that to our children. And that is the most mindful thing that we can do for them. So we also have, at Inner Space, we have kids classes, we have hands-on art classes for them, kids meditation, everything with the purpose of helping your child kind of like go inward with healthy, safe tools to do so. So when we get back in the building, after all of this, be sure to check out our calendar. You can look online at innerspacedesm.com, click on calendar, and then click on kids events, and you'll be able to see what we have going on. And don't forget, we also have many things for adults because it starts with us. So thank you for joining me today. And if you have any questions, feel free. You can reach out to me through Inner Space's Facebook page. Or any way you need to, or in the comment section, and I'll come back and check them later. Thank you very much.